Hello everyone, my name is Cool Silver Wolf. Going to be doing my 10,000 mile Model 3 review. First off, I'd like to welcome you to Midnight Glitch. This is my car, my Tesla Model 3. The reason why I'm reviewing my Tesla Model 3 is that I have recently hit 10,000 miles, and I want to give a fair assessment as far as my opinions on what the car is like. I named this car Midnight Glitch for a number of reasons. I'll get into that possibly in some other video. Currently, as of today, I have reached 10,405 miles. Now, as far as that doesn't seem like a lot, but I've only had the car for just 4 months. I took delivery of my Tesla on September 15th of 2018. Now, as far as the review, also, now's a good time because I've had a wide variety of experience with the car. I've experienced the end of summer, the full entirety of fall, and winter. That's 3 seasons of total usage with my Tesla Model 3. Also, with that, there's a complete range of temperatures as well as weather that I experienced during that time. Just to start out with a few different things about the car. Again, this is a Tesla Model 3. It is a dual motor, all-wheel drive model with the long-range battery. You've seen pictures. This has the midnight silver metallic paint, the premium all-white interior, or should I say the white and black according to Tesla's website in the configurator. With this car, since it is long range, it is rated for 310 miles. Rated miles usually means that it's a set speed on constant flat roads, typically with your heating, air conditioning turned off or minimal settings where it's not a large drain on the battery. A lot of the EPA ratings are set to a low speed, such as like 55 miles an hour. I had opted for the enhanced autopilot, but I did not currently go with the full self-driving option, but it can be added later. As with all Model 3s, there is pay-per-use supercharging, unlike some of the past Model S or X Tesla vehicles that included supercharging, or at least a portion of supercharging that is provided at no cost to the owner. It does come with a warranty. It includes a 4-year, 50,000 mile, bumper-to-bumper limited warranty. It also includes an 8-year, 120 mile battery and drivetrain warranty. Tesla is very good about giving goodwill service to anything that they feel is not up to their standards. That means replacing anything that for some reason isn't holding up, or if you got an issue, they're very good about taking care of the customers within the warranty. Now, just to go through a quick overview, there are a few different differences with my Model 3 than there are with others. There are currently 3 different versions available: the Performance, the long-range all-wheel drive, which I have, the rear-wheel drive, mid-range, and soon the base model with the standard range, also to be rear-wheel drive. All-wheel drive version is very nice. The specs on that is 4.5 seconds 0 to 60, if you care. It does go to a top speed of 145, and that depends on your state of charge, as well as your climate, the road conditions. Now, with this car, it has been rated 5 stars in all categories, as far as front, rollover, side, you name it. Now let's go through and take a look at a few of the other features about this car. This car includes a rear trunk as any other car, but it also includes a front trunk or frunk. That includes additional storage space that you typically wouldn't have with a normal internal combustion engine because there is an engine there. With a Model 3, it is an electric car, so there is much more space in the front, and you get a front trunk because of that. Now, most people know about this car because of the 15-inch center screen. It is the center focus point of this car as far as operation, as well as a lot of the other features, as well as from navigation to your overall car status. It's all combined on the center screen. Another thing a lot of people notice is the glass roof. This is a premium feature. This will likely not be included in the base model, but it is very nice. It allows a lot of natural light in. It is tinted, but it is a very nice feature that you typically don't see in many cars, and cars that do have a sunroof, it is not nearly as large. The Model 3 does have a lot of storage as far as console and driver and passengers areas, as well as a lot of cup holders, something that the previous models of the S and the S don't always have. Now, this also does have the fold-down seats. It is big enough for myself to be able to sleep in at a rest area on a trip, or if I, for whatever reason, am out on the road and need to pull over to take a quick nap. So far I haven't. Another nice feature that is included with this, with the premium option, is all heated seats. Every seat on the Model 3 is heated. A lot of times with newer cars, you might only get the front two driver and passenger seats, but with the Model 3 with the premium options, that is included. You also get full power seats for both the driver and the passenger. And it's a 7-way seat. You can do front, back, the tilt, up and down, and lumbar support, which is really nice. One of the other nice features about the premium options with the Model 3 is the premium sound. It includes a few extra speakers and tweeters, as well as a rear subwoofer that really rounds out the full sound system. Something that you might not get with the base model, but it's probably going to be pretty good for a lot of variety of music. With the premium sound, it is very, very nice. You get surround sound kind of features with the premium sound as well. Another great feature about this car is you always get updates. That would be updates to the software of the car, which sometimes includes new features, as well as always connected maps and updates for those maps, as well as real-time traffic if you paid for the connectivity for that feature, and that will be charged after a year of having the vehicle. Now let's talk about the autopilot and the safety features of the Model 3. This car, once again, has been tested and was awarded 5 stars in safety in all categories, which is great if you ever happen to be in an accident, which hopefully you never have to be. But with this car, it does provide a number of sensors that also help you as a driver to stay safe, as well as to assist you while you're driving. It has 12 ultrasonic sensors for parking, as well as awareness around you on the road. It has 3 forward cameras in the windshield, 2 side cameras on each side, both in the B pillar as well as within the below the mirrors on each side. It also includes a rear backup camera that will help you in parking as well as with the autopilot. This car also has onboard radar that will help assist with autopilot as well as traffic aware cruise control. This is very helpful for auto lane change while on autopilot, as well as being aware in stop and go traffic to be able to maintain your speed safely. Also with this car, there are a number of airbags that help keep you safe in a crash, including the front and passenger airbags that you would find in any other car, side airbags, as well as other airbags for your knees, as well as the side bolsters of the seats. Also, another big feature about this car is the battery. It helps keep the center of gravity and mass to the very bottom of the car, and is very less likely to roll over than, say, a standard car that does not have all that weight in the very bottom to help keep it stuck to the road. Now on to the day-to-day usage and experience with my Model 3. With the Model 3, it is an electric vehicle, so there has to be some adjustments as far as how you would typically view or operate an electric vehicle versus a gas-powered car. With that, one thing that a lot of people typically need to learn and adjust to is the state of charge and energy usage of the battery. Keeping in mind what your state of charge is, just like the fuel level in your car, as well as how much you use of that driving down the road. There's an adjustment there, and some people tend to think that with electric cars that you would have a lot of range anxiety, or feeling that you don't have enough battery to be able to get where you're going. With the Model 3, so far, I have not experienced that. Another adjustment that most people need to get used to with the Model 3 and other electric vehicles is regenerative braking. Now that is a feature on electric cars, because with a gas-powered car, you have an engine that's constantly going. But when you take your foot off the gas and apply the brake, typically you're only stopping by the brakes on the wheels themselves and the rotors and the pads. With an electric car, you're actually using the motors themselves to be able to help stop you. This is kind of like a diesel engine in a semi-truck that would be able to use the engine to help slow it down, due to this a way to recapture the energy back into the battery and be able to extend how far you can go. One feature that I've had to get used to with my Model 3 is a feature called Creep. Now with Creep on, it would operate just like any other gas-powered engine while sitting at a stoplight or a stop sign. When you're in gear, it would want to creep forward if you do not have your foot on the pedal. With the electric car, it's either on or it's off as far as the energy usage, unless you have the creep turned on. I currently do not use that. So when I stop at a stoplight or a stop sign, I put on the brakes, and unless I'm on a hill, I do not move. There is another feature with this car that is called Hill Hold that helps assist you if you have creep turned off, that would be able to hold your position on it, say, a slight incline, without having to keep your foot pressed down on the brake. Another adjustment that I've had to make with the Model 3 and with any electric vehicle is where to charge. I currently charge at home, and on longer trips, I would charge at superchargers or another fast charger if it's available. Now, there are a lot of superchargers and electric chargers throughout the nation that you'll be able to park at and charge up over time. Being able to charge up, it saves me a lot of time in the morning. I don't have to stop. I can just go directly to work or where I need to go. I don't have to worry about how much range or how much fuel or energy that I would have to be able to get where I'm going. On to a few things as far as the Model 3 that I've had to get adjusted to. One of which is there's really no heads-up display or any kind of information behind the steering wheel on the dashboard. The only thing that you have is the 15-inch display, which includes all your information about the status of the car, your speed, as well as your navigation and other features, as well as from your radio to your air conditioning or heating. Now, with the center display, it doesn't block visibility at all as far as your overall driving. And it's just a slight glance off to the side for your speed, and it's easy to interpret as far as the cars around you from what it picks up with the autopilot cameras. Also with the Model 3, another thing I've had to get used to is smaller mirrors. The mirrors are pretty good size, but they're still smaller than a lot of their vehicles, but they hit all the spots that you would typically need to be able to see around you. Another great feature about this car is a large backup camera. Since we have the 15-inch display, it pretty much takes up 2/3 of the screen. That's something that you don't get with a lot of other cars today, although that might be changing soon as we get a lot more technology. Now with the Model 3, and with other electric vehicles, it is much quieter than, say, a gas-powered car. There's still a lot of wind noise or road noise that you pick up from the tires, but overall, you don't have to crank your stereo system to be able to drown out a bunch of noise that are on the road. Now, as far as acceleration, that is something I've really had to get used to. This car is really fast. It's quick. Why? Because it has instant torque. As soon as you press on the pedal, you have all the power that you would typically have in this car directly to the wheels. That's something with a gas car that typically you don't get. Now more about how I use this car day to day. My commute is about 100 miles a day. That's round trip. So I get pretty good usage. That's why I've gotten over 10,000 miles on this car within 4 months. That is also the same reason why I had opted for the autopilot feature. Autopilot is required for the traffic-aware cruise control, which I use a lot. It is probably the most used feature of the car beyond the touchscreen and the general sound system and playing music and other things within the car while I'm driving. Traffic-aware cruise control is great because it allows you to de-stress and light to moderate traffic. And then autopilot is great too because it also includes the lane keeping and auto lane change that kind of helps you as far as just taking the edge off of driving. Now, I will admit, autopilot and sometimes the traffic-aware cruise control are a little quirky. It is something that Tesla is definitely improving on with every update, but there are some limitations that you need as far as using it while on the road. It's typically only meant for highways and limited access roads where you don't have any kind of intersection stop signs of any sort that you would have to stop at because that does not work within the city or with those conditions. That is something that might happen fairly soon, but that's more of a full self-driving option, something that I didn't pick with this car, but it is, again, something I can add on later. On to some other things that I really enjoy about this car day to day. One of which is this car quickly cools down from the heat of the day during the summer and even during the normal moderate weather day. The seats, they're not burning hot when you first get in the car, and they also warm up very nicely too after about 15 minutes on cold when you preheat the car before you happen to go out. Now this also does have seat heaters, and that also warms up pretty quickly. In about 5 minutes you're toasty warm. And the glass roof is really nice during sunny days as well. You're able to get a nice view, and you really don't need any shade, although you can still get a sunshade for the glass roof if you wanted. With my Model 3, as I mentioned, I have owned the vehicle basically through 3 different seasons: summer, fall, and winter. Now I'm going to go through a few of those differences, what I experienced for each season, and that might give you a better idea of what to expect overall as far as a Tesla Model 3 if you happen to get one, and what it would be possibly like for you. Now in the summer, I would typically get the best out of this car. I would leave typically at 90% every day, regardless of what season. Right now, I get about 278 miles rated range at 90%. And that's going from home to work, and then going from work to home again. I would get roughly about 50% as far as overall usage. Sometimes more, sometimes less. Now that's also depending if I take any stops, if I'm stuck in traffic, if there's any additional issues as far as accidents that I need to go around. And sometimes I'd take as much as a 50-mile detour. That sometimes is different. But I get the best efficiency during mild summer days and through fall. Typically about 75 to 80 degrees is when this car is happiest. It's very easy to get to gain more range through regen during these times because the battery's already warm and is able to accept more of that regen than what you would in the winter. As far as winter, I notice a lot less that I can get out of mileage for the same amount of energy out of the battery. I use a lot more energy just in heating the car. Now in the low 50s and below, it expects a lot more usage. I've noticed up to 40% of range being eaten away by the heater usage, just setting it to 70 or 72. It depends on your conditions as far as where you live. I live in a hilly area as well, so that also tends to cut into my range. But it's better to use about 40% more of your battery with the heat, trying to maintain the inside cabin air. And then also with the cold winter months, sometimes you get a lot more wind than what you would during a nice summer day where it's just hot. With the cold, we get fronts that come in. Right now it's snowing. I don't know if you noticed that, but it is winter here. So you do get a difference in the range. Now with the winter, I do notice that the seat heaters are very nice. They do keep you nice and toasty. You can actually sit with the seat heat on and still be comfortably warm. Now, the only issue that I see with that is if you set your cabin air temperature lower, I've noticed my legs get cold. But the rest of me is warm. So if I really want to extend my range out, I can just lower the temperature to say 65 or maybe 68. It'll be a little bit chillier, but I can turn the seat heat on, which doesn't use as much energy to run, and I'll be able to stay warm, although maybe a little bit uncomfortably, but I'll be able to get about the same range as what I would during a spring day or maybe even a hot summer day. Because during the hot summer days, you'll still run that air conditioning and you'll get a little bit of a loss that way as well. I'm sure a lot of you are asking, okay, you get a little bit less range during the cold and the very hot, but what does that do to your battery? Well, right now, after 4 months and 10,000 miles already on the battery and the rest of the car, I can tell you so far I'm looking pretty good. When I first took delivery of my Model 3, the range on the display showed 310 miles. Currently, if I charge up to 100%, which I haven't done in a while, but I estimate about 308 to 309 as far as the range. Now, when I first took delivery of my Model 3, it had 310 rated miles on the display. Now, after 4 months of use, 10,000 miles, when I charge up to 100%, which you should only do during trips or when you are going to be immediately using that battery, I would show up to 309 rated miles, sometimes 308, depending on the balancing of the battery. Now with that is only a 0.2% loss of the battery after 4 months. And most times, from all the data that other people have gathered, from Tesla batteries at least, there is a bit of a range reduction over the first year or two of use. That could be as much as 2%, some are less, some are more. But initially, you start to see a little bit of wear when you first get the vehicle. And then it stables out. There are some vehicles that have over 200,000 miles that have not seen much more degradation or reduction in their range than when they first had bought the vehicle and drove it for that first year or two. And that's really good, actually. A lot of cars, you want to have that stable battery. They do have an 8-year warranty, 120,000 mile warranty on the battery for the long range. For the mid-range and the base model is only going to be 100,000 miles, but it's still going to be a very long usage that you're going to get out of that. Now, another thing I haven't gone into yet is all the software features. Now, there's new software features and even just updates to Tesla, typically about once a month. These are just general bug fixes to brand new features, like when I first took the car, I didn't have Navigate on Autopilot. I also didn't have the dash cam feature, which has also been added. And there's been other features that have been talked about in the very future. Alright, now here's to some of your questions that you might be thinking during this review, and as well as some others I've gotten over the course of owning the car. Here's the first one. How the heck does the electric motor car accelerate? Does it operate like a big golf cart? Basically, I did test drive the rear-wheel drive Model 3, and even with the all-wheel drive to some degree, it does operate a lot like a golf cart. I mean, unless you're pressing on the accelerator, the go pedal, you're really not going anywhere. And depending on, it's another thing that you have to get used to with the electric car. When you first get into an electric vehicle, if you push on the accelerator the way that you would in a gas car, there's a revving of the engine, you get a little bit of delay to the wheels. With the electric car, you get that right away. You get power to the wheels, you're off down the road, and if you're not used to that, you can actually press on the gas, and it'll start picking up like real quick. It will, give you a jolt per se. And that's something you have to learn, where just the feeling of the car, not to press into the gas or the accelerator so quickly that it kind of takes off and gives you that jolt. But it does work a lot like a big golf cart. But it's a lot smoother and it is a very fun car to drive. The next question is, What was the first time that you farted in it? Well, as far as that, um, yeah. Um, Actually, I don't really remember the first time because, well, it's one of those things that you really don't want to in a brand new car. But with these seats, um, I haven't noticed any issues with these seats. I haven't noticed any kind of issues with that as far as echoing the sound or um, anything that would be an issue for the seats. These are synthetic leather, so it's not going to store any kind of smell from that. But just so you know, um, they should be just fine. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is with other Teslas like the Model S and the X, they do have what's called bioweapon defense mode, which some people I've seen call it a fart sucking mode. It has a little bit more filtration. It does kind of, take smells out of the air inside the car, as well as anything that's being pulled into the car from the air conditioning. This unfortunately doesn't have it, so it does have a good air filter, but it doesn't take care of smells. So just like any other car, you just kind of have to deal with it if one sneaks out. Now, the next question I often get, and it also goes back to the seats. How do you like the seats? Are they hard to clean? And why did I pick them? As far as the seats themselves, I really do like the seats. I picked the seats because the other option for the Model 3 is all black. Black interior, black trim. Everything's black throughout the car. The side door panels, the seats themselves, and then also up front, where you would have the white trim with the white interior, is a wood trim, which honestly I didn't care for. I think the white actually has a lot of contrast, and it looks a lot more modern to me than just all black. And being a dark exterior car with the midnight silver metallic, I wanted to make sure that I had something different other than just a, kind of a dark on dark car. Another thing is with the seats, I just kind of wipe them down with baby wipes every now and then. So far, they haven't had any kind of issues, but I know some people have had blue jeans stain them a little bit, in which you just kind of have to keep on top of it. Another comment I usually get is, wow, you have white seats, so you must not have kids. Well, that is true. I don't have any kids, but even if I did, I would still probably go with the white seats because they are rather easy to clean, and I don't think that would be an overall issue. Going on further, just to wrap things up, I really love this car. As far as any issues or problems, have kind of been mostly minor. There were some bugs with the software that got worked out, like with the air conditioning not working. Now, I had some issues with the rear windshield. It had a crack in it. But that's just, given the numbers of how many windshields are made, pieces of glass, you're going to have at least a couple here or there that are going to have some defects. The reason why it cracked is with using the defroster, there was obviously some issue within the glass itself as far as heat. And if you've ever had a glass shatter before, like, going from hot to cold, this is exactly the same issue. So with the defroster, it cracked right along the line of where the defroster lines were, and it's just a matter of, it was a weak part in the glass, and they've replaced it. They've replaced it no cost, under warranty, and there was no issues. looks like it was never even changed out. It's great. But other than that, I pretty much have had a pretty good, easy time with this car. Everything that I've had issues with has been taken care of under warranty for the most part. And service has actually been great for me in this area. Ongoing with another video that I'll probably be doing is my overall Tesla experience. And that'll be going over what it was like to test drive the car, ordering the car, and pickup and delivery to me of the car, and then going into a little bit more detail about service support, and also coming up, the referral program is going to be ending, and what it was like for that for me. So that will be in another video. This car has been wonderful. I've experienced it throughout 3 different seasons. It's been great. It does really well in the snow, even with all-season tires, though that depends a lot on your tires themselves, whether or not they're in good condition. Winter tires would be even better, and that's something I may end up looking forward to in the future. But I've had almost no range anxiety, other than a few times where it's been really windy, where it's been really cold and I've been cranking the heat. But with my normal day-to-day experience, even though I drive a good 100 miles per day or more, depending if I happen to stop somewhere and do a few things after work or even on the weekends, I've had little range anxiety whatsoever. There's always been at least some place nearby as far as a supercharger, or I'm typically close to home anyway, where I can just plug in, and I never have to worry about having enough energy in the mornings when I take off for work. I always have a full battery, and that's something that I had to get used to. I used to stop by a gas station, maybe get something to drink on the way in, maybe get a snack or something, or even on the way home. I would stop, pick something up, just to snack on, which of course isn't really been good for weight or anything, but that's one thing that's changed since I've gotten this car, is I don't stop at those places and grab snacks and things anymore. Love the features of this car. It's been a lot less stressful driving the car with a lot of the assistance features that it has, like autopilot. And overall, I'm very, very happy. I don't regret spending the extra money to go electric with this car. And with that, being an electric vehicle, in my opinion, I bought this more for the technology within the car, the features that it has, and overall the ability to turn on and turn off the heating from away from the car to allow it to preheat or cool off. It's been great. Those convenience features are something that I never had before, and it has definitely made this car that much more enjoyable, as well as the driving experience. This car is very quick. I never feel like I'm stuck somewhere behind, a truck or anything, or able to get out of a situation where, if for some reason someone happens to subtly move in my lane, I can quickly maneuver. I mean, the handling's great, but I can also get out of the way very quickly with this car if I need to. Other than that, I really enjoyed the time you guys had spent listening to me talk about this car. Please go ahead and like and subscribe if you want to. Like I said, the referral program's going away. I never got much benefit out of it. That's something I'll talk about later on. But if you're looking for a vehicle that's a Tesla, you can get supercharging well up until the 1st. All right. Thank you guys. Again, like and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see in the future. And I'm very happy to share this experience with you.